Okay, so we are going to talk about the investor manager function. This is Mitch Messer. It is March 23rd, I believe. I am here in Medellin, Colombia, looking out the window at the gorgeous weather and eager to share with you all how the investor manager role works and specifically how to negotiate with investors to sell your wholesale deals. So let's get started. This is the first module. This is the introduction. And you by now are sick of seeing this deal slicer fractional wholesaling framework. Hopefully by now you're familiar with it. You know that these are 7 roles that are used to divvy up the responsibilities of taking down a wholesale deal in a manner that lets a group of people collaborate on taking down this wholesale deal in a way that keeps everybody in their own lane, keeps people from stepping on each other's toes, and also make sure that no functions are left undone. And we're specifically going to be talking about this investor manager role. It's the 5th role in the sequence out of 7. And if you've been progressing through this in order, then you just came from the investor marketer. And next, we're going to be talking about closing coordinator. But for these next 4 training sessions, we're going to talk about investor manager. Investor manager is assigned a 15% role, or 15% share, I should say, in the wholesale fee. It's been determined by me that, roughly speaking, they should be getting about 50% of the whole wholesale fee. That seems fair. And again, this is the 5th in the series of 7 roles. That's why there's a 5 designation. And the indicative color is blue for investor manager. So let's talk about what the investor manager actually does. Their job is primarily to connect with the buyer, to deeply understand their needs, to develop the financials that will demonstrate we can address that buyer's needs, to negotiate a deal with that buyer that addresses their needs while paying us a suitable wholesale fee, and then get that purchase and sale agreement signed by the investor buyer so that we can manage them through the due diligence period and ultimately close, get paid, and then rinse and repeat, do it over and over and over again. So these are the functions of the investor manager role, and we're going to, in the next, well, in this and in the remaining three segments, we're going to talk about how this is actually done. But let's just be clear. The sole purpose of investor management is to get buyer agreement. We need to get someone to sign a purchase and sale agreement with us so that we can then move on to the next step, which is trying to get this thing closed and get paid. It's not our job to teach buyers the kind of deals they should be doing or instruct them on how to analyze the deal. None of that stuff gets us paid. It's our job to get them to sign an agreement that puts money in our pocket as a wholesale fee and serves them by giving them what they wanted. We'll talk about that in a second. Who does the investor manager interact with? Primarily, they interact with the investor marketer. This was the role number 4, right before this one. The person who's identifying potential buyers and potential investor buyers out there in the world who have raised their hand to say that they have a general interest in the kind of deal we're offering. They're not making any kind of commitment, but they've at least expressed an interest in hearing more. Their job is to bring these people forward. Our job as the investor manager is to close at least one of these people with an agreement. So we're going to talk a lot with the investor manager about the kind of people they're bringing forward and how they got these people to come forward. And that investor manager is going to give us information about these prospective buyers to help us put together a strategy, a winning strategy for getting them to want to buy our deal. And we're also going to interact a fair amount with the document manager or document manager because once we have someone who's ready to move forward, we're going to collaborate with the document manager to get the actual paperwork done. It's kind of a dance between the document manager, who's the expert in the documents, and us as the investor manager who understand what the buyer wants to kind of come up with this document that captures all of that in a way that is legal and binding and protects all the parties. And the document manager is going to help us get that document, that commitment document, completed. And as need arises, we may interact with other roles. Certainly we'll be talking to the deal maker and possibly the closing coordinator, but the primary purpose of the investor manager is to get that buy-in from the investor slash buyer, and we'll need the investor marketer and the document manager to do that. And again, just to remind you, since we're here as investor manager, the deal maker will interact with us, the closing coordinator will interact with us, the investor marketer will interact with us, and actually what should be also here is the document manager. That should be also on this chart. So let's talk about what's next. We talked about the 5 functions of the investor manager's job. We're going to talk about the first 2, the connecting and the developing, in the next training. And so let's see you over there.